Magandang gabi po sa inyong lahat at welcome po tayo dito sa ating topic, particularly on Reconnected to Care, Youth Leadership in Building a Marist E-Community. Sa ating pong usapin tungkol sa tema na we are reconnected and build to care, no? We have always to remember that this is a moment when you and I will journey together. We are companions in the journey of discovering the wealth of our marriage charism that builds us together in this world of the new normal. Remember our theme, Reconnected to Care, Youth Leadership in Building a Marist E-Community. By the theme, you will always understand that there are three major themes that is being woven into one theme. The first is Reconnected to Care. Second has something to do with youth leadership. And the third is Marist E-Community. A while ago, I was asking Sir Pope what could the meaning of E-Community be? And we had a lot of terms connected. It may be virtual reality, but I would like to lead you into an understanding that the E-community would mean a Marist, energized community despite the many struggles that we are going through. Now let me begin with the first key understanding of the terms in the theme, Reconnected to Care. The word reconnecting, when you reconnect or contact with one another, it doesn't have to be transactional. What I'm trying to say is, when you reconnect, there is always a step to link together with another in order to rekindle relationships. Why did you gather here tonight? A great number of you have gathered here tonight to reconnect. And what does reconnecting entail? It's reconnecting to rekindle relationships. Remember that the word reconnecting does not have to be an act of taking. Like I reconnect to take something. I reconnect with you because you have a very bunch of chocolates, a bunch of, candies. I reconnect to get it. That's not necessarily what it means to reconnect. Always remember that reconnecting is an act of giving or a gesture of generosity. Even small acts of kindness can be antidotes to isolation. Inspire kindness. Reconnecting inspires kindness. Remember, in the world now of the new normal, many of you young people might have felt the anguish of solitary existence. You're not being able to go into the malls, contact your friends, hug them, can lead to a deep experience of isolation. We need people who could reconnect with us to assure us that we are not alone. You need to reconnect, to find time to be with the others, because this is the way to make you feel you matter in the lives of many. Inspire kindness by reconnecting. Many of you might be asking, I don't know how to reconnect. I don't know to reach out. But remember, always remember, that reconnecting is a skill. It is something that you and I can learn. It is not an innate talent. Pwede yung sabihin na, ay, ayoko mag-reconnect kasi nga sila lang yun kasi extrovert sila, ako mahiyain. Kahit sino mang mahiyain can go out and reach out and reconnect because it is a skill that can be learned. With practice, connecting can be learned and implemented, resulting in better leadership and communication, resulting in better relationship or a more productive collaborations with others. And of course, connecting increases influence. What are the attributes or qualities to connecting? When do we say that I can learn the quality way of reconnecting with people? First, identify and relate with others. You cannot reconnect if you just choose or opt to stay in your room and then spend the whole time just checking on your Facebook and messages and other applications. Stop for a while and think of people, think of your friends, identify and relate with them. You try to give time to express appreciation, demonstrating trust, and forming a bond on the emotional level are always in which a leader can relate with their team as well as peers. You and I, if we opt to give time to say hi and hello to people, that's a way of relating with them. It's the grace and the joy of reconnecting. The second point of how are we going to establish the quality of reconnecting is to focus on other people. At times we are too absorbed our own predicaments. We are so absorbed that no one is reaching out to us. It's precisely because we haven't found the time to reach out to others. Let others feel you care for them. Remember our theme? Reconnect to care. Because there are many people who feel isolated. People who are anguished with the loss of the warmth of human affection. Number 2 key to reconnecting is focus on other people and let other people care. Feel that you care for them. The third is an interesting criteria. Way more than words. We reconnect to care not just about through the words we say, but we reconnect by ways more than what the words can say. For example, the actual words spoken according to research accounted only 7% of the effectiveness of communication. Remember, if somebody's talking to you, you remember less what really are the words. You remember less of what really are the words, but you remember the warmth of the tone of the voice that comprised 38% and the body language. 55% would make up 90% of the impression we convey. Ano ibig sabihin ito? Sa pagkoconnect natin sa tao to express that we care, hindi lang dapat sa salita. You just don't tell them, you know I care and I remember you in my prayers. But non-spoken words in actions can mean a lot and they register into the psyche of the person. In that way, they feel cared and loved. How is that so? Send some notes, send some, the tone of your voice should be warm and endearing so that people could feel that true indeed, there was a sense of warmth in how you connect. To better connect, it is important to have an open posture, move with a sense of purpose, and be expressive. Be expressive. Hindi tayo dapat matakot to be expressive, lalo na ngayon, no? Sa panahon ng pandemya, there's nothing to be alarmed if we say, I care for you. I remember you. I miss you. Those are warm words we could share and let people understand that we care. And of course, always remember this, our attitude and how we make people feel will be remembered long after our words are forgotten. Ibig sabihin, mas matagal ang impact ng ating attitude and the actions that we do because words can easily be forgotten. Number 4, what do I do in order to reconnect? Inspire others. Inspiration is created when people know, see, and feel that they are understood, trusted, and valued. Alam nyo, minsan, Ang mahirap, no? Ang mahirap na experience ngayong panahon ng pandemya, lagi kayo magkakasama, magpamilya sa isang bahay, sa isang lugar, especially when it is a lockdown. And then too much familiarity at times, nagiging impatient na kayo, para naging too familiar na kayo sa bawat isa. But yet you lost that sense and capacity of affirming the other. Kayo ba? Nasabihan niyo na ba yung tatay at nanay niyo na mahal niyo sila? Na-inspire niyo na ba yung inyong kapatid na kahit hindi sila lumalabas, they are contributing to the well-being of the family? Kayo ba? Kahit hindi kayo nagkita ng inyong mga kaibigan, do you inspire them by giving your time to respond to their messages? There's a world beyond our own difficulties, because there is a whole wide world where we could go out and reach out and inspire others. Fifth, be credible and authentic. Minsan, tayo mga Pilipino, yung kung sa Ilonggo pa, gayaga gani, no? Maghambal sila, tiyak mo, namin man na ako nga ba? Oo, namin na siya pang online selling. So, instead of being credible and authentic in your comments, you are a good connector. You connect well if you are accountable, you live up to your commitment, you right your wrong, and you lead like the way you lead. In other words, witnessing and be a credible witness to what you are saying. Be witnesses of integrity of the words and actions. Now, there you go. We have done an understanding. We have done a little explanation about the importance of reconnecting and the quality way of reconnecting, so that when we reconnect, it becomes spontaneously that we do so because we care for people. They matter to us, which is why we reconnect. And we give meaning to that simple act of kindness that could make a difference in the lives of people. Tayo dito ngayon, in this virtual gathering, we reconnect because we wanted to learn, and we reconnect with our friends as well. The second term is about youth leadership. Remember our theme, Reconnected to Care, youth leadership in building a Marist community. Now, what is youth leadership? Napakarami po ng mga principles, theories about leadership. Pero papasukan natin ngayon in the tradition of the Marist. Through the CMRE of NDMU, this activity warmly welcomes you, not just a student on your own right, but we warmly welcome you through these activities because we care for you, and we have this Marist tradition of a family. We welcome you not just as a student, but as a family. So this second part, we shall be talking about youth leadership. But I would like to stress in the tradition of the Marist. Now, let's try to pause a few seconds, a few minutes maybe, and try to ask ourselves the question, how am I as a youth affected by the new normal? How am I as a youth affected by the crisis of the pandemic? So I'd like you to close your eyes, just very briefly. Close your eyes, and I would like you to journey inward and try to think of the many other youth who at this time might have been feeling anxious, in anguish, in the lowest morale level, confused. Think of your experience. Are you uncertain? Are you suffering of what we call fatigue, online fatigue? Are you insecure of a future? Why do I want you to be connected with that story and experience? It's precisely because when we talk about youth leadership, you are leading a generation with this kind of context. A whole lot of youth you will lead who are suffering from anxieties, of confusion, of insecurities. Studies have shown that many youth around the world are ill with stress and anxiety, which is exacerbated by the pandemic. Globally, many youth are suffering stress and anxiety. Worst, many youth committed suicide because nobody was with them to face the crisis of aloneness and insecurity. Remember, 17% of youth age 18 and 29. Maybe you belong to the bracket of the 18 or even before that. These 70% of youth assess themselves as probably subject to anxiety or depression. Depression is an energy of anger directed to the self for whatever context you are in. Those ages of 30 to 34, there are about just 11% who claim in that study that you are experiencing anxiety and depression. A significant portion of youth was never relaxed, meaning they are so restless. 35% are so restless. 31% of the youth studied that was spread globally were never optimistic. They think too negative about the future, and they rarely feel the connection with other people, comprise 29%. Since the onset of the crisis of pandemic, 29% of the global youth feels they are not connected with people, and they suffer this excruciating pain of feeling alone. Why? Because this is due to the fact that there is a disruption in the youth's education and or employment prospects and the uncertainty of their future. This is confirmed by the fact that 38% of the youth around the world feel uncertain for their future careers, while 44% of the youth who have since stopped their schooling fear that they will be off track. This is according to the International Labour Organization report of 2020, just last year. Why am I presenting this to you? Because if we think of forming you as a leader, this is the phase of the youth you will lead. Hindi ba challenging yun? How can I lead or how can you lead when these are the people whom you will exemplify your leadership on? But we are Marist. You are Marist. And there is a distinct way of leading. Our topic, youth leadership in the tradition of the Marist, will lead us to understand that distinct to the leadership of the Marist is the way of Mary. I lead in the way of Mary. Mary appears at the center of what we call Marist leadership. Marcel Champagne calls Mary as his first superior, as the first superior of the Marist brothers. They call Mary as the first superior. She is the one in charge of the community who is doing everything, making what seems to be impossible possible, and inspiring the young community of brothers and laity as well. Why I emphasize this? Because if we develop ourselves, if you develop yourselves as leaders, entrusting your development in the hands of Notre Dame of Marble University, the way to develop your leadership is the way of Mary. And the way of Mary is the way that makes even the most difficult circumstance possible, because with Mary is the grace of God's Spirit working. How do we develop leadership in the way of Mary? Mary's leadership in the way of Mary is a maternal leadership aimed at generating nurturing life, showing mercy, and trying to integrate very diverse human beings into community. What I would like to stress is, if you are a leader in the way of Mary, you are nurturing life. You are generating inspiration. You are showing mercy and forgiveness as a leader. And you try to be inclusive. One day, any one of you here will become maybe the leader of the Student Supreme Government. And these are the criteria of your showing the way of the Marist. Are you inclusive? Do you nurture life? Are you inspiring? Do you listen? Mary proposes that we lead by listening respectfully to one another, keeping confidences in our heart, and being present in important and especially difficult moments of life. Presence is the gift of the Marist tradition. As leader, you don't lead ahead, but you do lead with the people, because you are there, present for them. Remember, as a youth leader, you are stamped with the tradition of the Marist, because you do things in the way of Mary. How? Again, I mentioned, you are nurturing, you are inspiring, you show mercy and forgiveness, you show maternal care, and you are inclusive, welcoming others, even others of different religious beliefs. We move on. For every Marist leader, every Marist student will always believe, has this firm conviction, without Mary, we are nothing. And with Mary, we have everything. Because Mary always has her adorable Son within her arms or within her heart. Now, we move on to what makes the Marist leader. 3 components. The Marist leader is imbued with the charism of the Marist, namely spirituality, shared life, and mission. Bawat leader dapat nahubog ang kanyang pagkatao sa lalim ng tradisyon ng pagiging isang Marista, spirituality ng Marista, shared life, at ang misyon. Ano ba to at paano natin maintindihan? As a leader, you have exemplified the Marist spirituality. That is, following Jesus in the style of Mary. It is a spirituality that encounters God in our everydayness of life. Every day, nakikita natin ang galaw ng Diyos. Dahil sa St. Marcelin Champagne, lagi niya sinasabi sa last will of Testament niya, always practice the presence of God. Nakikita mo ba ang galaw ng Diyos sa buhay mo? Nakikita mo ba sa araw-araw ang galaw ng Espiritu sa buhay mo? It is a spirituality of passion and compassion. So as a leader, dapat na-embrace mo yung spirituality of the Marist. Dapat na-develop mo yung tinatawag nating interiority or prayer life. Prayer life doesn't necessarily need to say araw-araw ka sa chapel, perfect attendance ka sa misa, perfect attendance ka sa mga litany or devotions. But prayer life is understood now as a consciousness of a relationship that exists with God day by day and every moment of our lives. Are you conscious of how beautifully and wonderfully loved by God? You and I are loved by God. Personal relationship as spaces where God is present and sharing experiences with non-believers or other religions. Bahagi ito ng ating spirituality. Kaya kung sino man dito sa inyo mga Muslims, the moment to enter NDMU, it is a Catholic school, but it is an ecumenical school. We honor your religion. We wish and we long that as you study and stay at NDMU, you grow more, not as a Catholic or turn as a Catholic, no, but you grow more and deeply as a Muslim or according to the tradition of your religious belief. You are welcome. We are a family. The second is mission. Our mission is making Jesus known and loved is the essence, of why we are doing things. Etong mga teachers ninyo, mga teachers ninyo sa classroom, why they do that? Teach with commitment. Dahil they do that in memory of Jesus, who was a teacher. Bakit pinupuntahan ko ang isang kaibigan na nalulungkot at pinapasaya ko? Bakit binibisitahan ko ang mga may sakit? Bakit? Dahil I do that as a Marist in memory of Jesus who visited the sick and gave comfort to the lonely. That is our mission, making Jesus known and loved. To become witnesses and apostles, life becomes our mission. Within our family, of course, in mission, you doesn't really have to go out. You don't have to go out, somewhere else to do your mission. As a student, your mission is to remain committed to the task entrusted to you by your family and also your responsibility in the school. Especially, our mission is to address the care of those who are in need. And syempre, pupuntahan natin ngayon yung tinatawag nating shared life. Alam nyo, I had this experience dahil nga sa responsibility ko sa Marist. I am presently the coordinator of the laity desk at the East Asia province. So I get to work in other places of the East Asia, like for example in Hong Kong, in Vietnam, in Hong Kong, in Singapore, and the other in Malaysia. I get to go there to help the laity people. And my responsibility also in Rome as the assistant director for the Secretariat of Laity, or tinatawag namin co-director of the Secretariat of Laity, I get to go to places like Africa, like in South Asia, in other places to provide them with experiences of formation. But believe me, I always tell myself and others as well, wherever I go, even though it's a new place, for as long as there are Marist brothers particularly, I always feel I have a home. Because that is the gift of the Maristerism. Sana, kahit sa panahon ng pandemya, magdaman nyo ang pagiging isang pamilya dito sa Notre Dame of Marble University. And also to all of you gathered here tonight, I hope you came here, not just because you wanted to have this for your attendance, but rather you came here because you believe that this is a family gathering. That you and I will be connected with one another. The family generates spaces and opportunities to share life. Okay, anong nakita natin sa element ngayon ng youth leadership? Babalikan ko. Youth leadership has something to do with doing it in the way of Mary, leading in the way of Mary. And leading the way of Mary embraces the Marist charism. We lead to share the gift of the charism. Shared life, spirituality, and mission. Okay, ngayon, pupuntahan naman natin yung pangatlong component ng tema ninyo ngayong gabi. Yung sabi nga natin, yung tema, Reconnected to Care, Youth Leadership in Building Marist E-Community. Pupuntahan natin yung Building a Marist E-Family. Sabi ko, No? E family would mean an energized Marist family. Now, there are elements in building a Marist energized family or Marist E family. No, akin lang yun ha. Akin lang yung energized family. But I actually got this in the closing message of Brother Ernesto Sanchez, the Superior General of the Marist Brothers. Sinabi nila na yung imagery of the new paradigm of the future of the Marist is captured by the visual of the table of Lavela. Palagay natin na ito yung simbolo of the Marist E community. Yung lamesa, na tulad ng inuupuan ko lamesa, the lamesa has 4 legs. And I'd like to enter into these 4 legs to help us understand how to build a Marist E community. A roadmap, yung ating susundin, will always give us the impression that we are journeying together. Una, how do we build a Marist E community? First, we are to be tireless searchers for meaning in our search for God. Are you searching for God? O masyado na kayong busy na hindi nyo na binibigyan ng pagkakataong makasama ang Diyos sa pang-araw-araw mong buhay? To build a Marist family is to have all people in that family become tireless searchers for meaning in the search for God. We need to have a personal encounter of God in our day-to-day life. Do you encounter God? Or you might be the kind who will still ask the question, natutulog ba ang Diyos? Bakit hindi niya ako pinapansin sa mga sandaling ito? Is God still exist? Does God still exist? To be tireless searcher is to always find where God's handprint or footprint appears in all the moment of our lives. Nasaan ang Diyos sa buhay mo ngayon? And to be tireless searcher for meaning in our search for God is to be His passionate witnesses of a full and happy life. The glory of God is men and women fully alive. The glory of God is humanity fully alive. Hindi ba nilamon ng crisis ng pandemya ang buhay na masaya? Is our life of joy and happiness not being trampled down by the threats of the pandemic? To be a tireless searcher for meaning is to be passionate witness of a happy life. To desire to go more deeply into our experience of God. Always remember, para sa mga kabataan sa panahon ngayon, it does not mean na naghihirap kayo, confused kayo. It does not mean na wala na ang Diyos sa experience nyo. Yung experience of difficulty might be a God moment to help you understand that He is there, guiding you, strengthening you, and building you up. To form an energized family is to be a tireless searcher for meaning in our search for God. The second is to form homes that nurture life and generate new life. Sana tayo will be fully committed Marist, united in diversity, and we are co-responsible for the Marist mission. Muslim, non-Catholics, we are all one family, and we carry the mission of proclaiming the good news. We are to promote a deep renewal of our Marist life. Sa pagsisimula nyo dito sa Notre Dame of Marble University, gagabayan kayo ng inyong mga guro kung paano pa mas mapalalim ang pangunawa at pagsasabuhay ng tatak Marista. Ninanais namin na sana, that day comes when you leave the portals of NDMU, you can proudly call yourself and lead the way of tunay na tatak Marista. We are called to be light in the midst of the world that is fragmented. You and I are called to become hope-giving people inspiring life and love in the midst of fragmented reality. We are called to generate authentic relationships. And this goes back to the first component of the theme. We are called to reconnect, to care. And the third, of course, is to be prophets of human dignity, present among the most vulnerable and forgotten children and the young people. We are called to be courageous in abandoning our comfort zones and to meet the needy. Reconnecting does not necessarily mean to say you reconnect only with people who could help you. You also reconnect by the mission of the Marist to people who needs you most. Reconnect with the people who needs your care, love, and attention. We are called to respond to the realities of displaced people. Dapat natin intindihin when we have to say displaced people. This does not necessarily mean those who are far away from us and they have nowhere to live. Your classmates. The people within this internet space. Thousands of you are here. There might be some of you who feels displaced. How do we reconnect with them? And of course, to defend the rights of children and to condemn any kind of abuse. Every Marist stands for the protection and care of children and youth in need. What is asked of us to become prophets of human dignity? What are we called for? To be Marists, leading the way of Mary. To reconcile others who are broken, fragmented, and those to heal those who are wounded. Primarily to be prophets of human dignity, we are called to generate authentic relationships. And number 4, yung pinakahuling paa ng love at the table, is to be healing and co-creative presence of our common home. To be a healing and co-creative presence of our common home, you are called and become people who are aware that our common home is crying out for help. We have to stop our excessive use and exploitation of our planet. The ecological conversion needed to bring about lasting change is also a community conversion. You and I, as Marist, we promote a deeper appreciation and respect for ecological concerns and offer trainings, these trainings in the NDMU, so that we could do a constant consciousness and action to care for our common home. If we try to look at Saint Marcelin, you look at his eyes now, the one on the screen. I'd like you to stop for a while. Stop for a while and just try to fix your gaze in the eyes of Saint Marcelin. Try to look at him in some moments of quiet. Because he is inviting you and I to become agents of hope in a world that is so fragmented. How to build an e-Marist family or e-community. We need to become people of prayer with a deep sense of spirituality, aware of the presence of God in every moment of our lives. We need to be people who care for the others, for the environment, and we need to be caring for others. Finally, as Marist youth leaders, now called to reconnect, to care, and to build a Marist e-family, the question is, what is God asking me to do now? Maraming salamat po sa inyo. Ito po si Agnes Reyes, kasama nyo sa paglalakbay bilang isang Marista. Magandang gabi po.